Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to 2020 Vision. It is January 9th, 2020. And I am so excited and delighted to be in this amazing space with all these gorgeous faces looking at me, and all of you who will be listening later, because I deeply believe that minds are joined and that we are creating an inspired space and connection together where amazing things can happen. So you might want to listen to this tonight. You might want to listen to it again, because again, we're going to spark different things. So just some housekeeping. I'll tell you briefly. If you're just joining us now, please put your camera on if you can. It would be wonderful. If you're driving, you might not want to do that, and that's okay. But we'd love to see your beautiful face. Again, you might get comfortable. You might have coloring to do while you're listening. You might take notes while you're listening. You might do anything that relaxes you. This is your space. So again, also, if you'd like to chat with us, I see a lot of people interacting on the chat board. It's a great way to connect. You'll just hit there's a chat button at the bottom of your monitor. It'll take you over to the right on your screen, and you can just introduce yourself there. I'm just going to say a few other housekeeping things before I forget. Anybody who's living near, I'm just going to tell you just a very few opportunities that are coming up, live events. There's a lot more things going on. It's always on my website. It's always on my calendar. But just in case you live in Denver or anywhere near Denver, I am doing a retreat this Saturday, Living Your Sweetest Year Yet. It's an incredible opportunity to go way deeper into creating a magical space, to get in touch with your vision, to get in touch with what's calling you now, what's speaking to you. We still have some space in it, so if you'd like to join us, it's Saturday, January 11th. Speaking of retreats, I'm doing a lot of retreats this year. The next one is a weekend retreat in Massachusetts at Kripalu, January 31st through February 2nd. It's one of my favorite retreats that I do. Some of you have interacted with me there. It's on Unleash Your Calling, create the work and life you love. So if you want to kick off this new year like incredibly, please join me for that. Also, anybody in California, I'll be out there I'll be out there several times, but for a retreat, I'll be out there April 24th through the 26th at 1440, which is near the Santa Cruz area. It's in Scotts Valley. So just wanted to mention that to you. Also, I'll mention this to you at the end of our call, at the end of this experience. I'll be offering a special invitation at the end of this call of an online program. I know a lot of you are already in my Inspired and Unstoppable Life tribe, which is a very good choice. If you are not already in that tribe, we're doing a special at the end of this call where you can join that tribe and take A Course in Miracles with me as a 2-for-1 special, and it'll be $99, and it's for 3 months. So I'll talk more about that later, but just wanted to put those housekeeping things out there, and we will officially start. So I want to read you something from my book, A Year Without Fear. I know many of you have it. If you don't, that's okay. You can just have your year with fear, I guess. I don't know. That's your choice. Do what you will. You're on your own.
If you don't have it, get it. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, whoever said it was awesome. And I don't know how you're able to talk since we're supposed to have you on mute, but that was a great comment to make. So I'm glad. I'm reading you from January 9th because it is January 9th, and it really applies to what we're talking about tonight. And it says, inspiration is an invitation to new abundance. It's not just the invitation to create a song, a business, a souffle, or a screenplay. It's the invitation to create yourself. The creator is changed by the created. Yet if you refuse to listen to your own new ideas, you hold back the unlimited within you. You may think you're just being, quote, reasonable, but how could it ever be rational to deny your greatest powers? Today, I pay attention to my new ideas. So I wanted to give that to us for as an opening for tonight, because we're talking about receiving vision, receiving your vision, that which is within you. And I wanted to give this to you because, again, it's so much of a bigger journey than, oh, I just want to create a screenplay, or I just want to create this, as though those things are small. They're not. But again, the creator is changed by the created. This is a journey that takes you on an unbelievable transformational journey, and that it's so much more than the specific goal. So that's why I want you to listen to this creativity in you, this vision in you, this genius in you. So I'm going to talk about a few quickie points, and then we're going to do a meditation to kind of get here, set the space, open up. And so just in general, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for being here. I'm so excited to see some of you, to see the names that are coming in, to meet some of you new folks, to have new people joining our community. I think we're over 700 strong in this call, by the way. So I'm just real excited about that. It's a great way to begin the new year. And again, please keep in mind, you're one of the mavericks. You're one of the people who are doing it differently in this lifetime. It takes a lot of bravery and courage to stay conscious, to stay open-hearted, to choose love instead of fear over and over and over and over again. That is not an easy path. It sounds lovely, like, oh, choose love, choose inspiration, follow your bliss. But many of us who are walking this walk know that it takes incredible courage and dignity and integrity and being a warrior for the greatest powers that exist. And I just wanted you to know there's so many of us who are doing this. You're not alone. And so look, if you're here live with us, look around at these gorgeous faces that are joining us in this tribe. And also, let's keep that energy going, knowing that there are people all over the world that are doing this with us. There are people all over the world that are having the courage to be different, that are having the courage to be mavericks, to having the courage to keep listening. And I know sometimes you might feel like, oh my God, if I'm one of the mavericks, forget it. You know, look, if I'm in the definition of mavericks, whoa, we are screwed. I don't know if you've ever felt like that. I have felt like, oh my God, if I'm one of the new thought leaders, like, oh my God, there must be slim pickings out there then, you know, but again, those of us who are leading and who are daring, it takes tremendous courage. And it doesn't mean that you don't face your own challenges or difficulties, right? So again, I'm just so excited and so proud of all of you. Just being on a call like this, just listening to a recording like this, just investing in something like this, even though it's completely free. Again, it's an investment of time. It's an investment of energy. That's incredible. Somehow, by the way, I went on Spotlight and now all I see is my big face, and that's a little scary. But I guess we need to do that. I don't know. So anyways, I just wanted to welcome everybody that way. And I'm just going to talk about a few little things before we go into meditation. So first of all, I guess what I wanted to define vision for you, a little bit about what I mean about vision. And what I mean by that is that this isn't a vision that you're asking for. This isn't a vision that you're holding from your mind. This isn't a plan. This isn't a goal. This is a vision that is already inside you. There is a path that is already inside you. There's something that's already there. We're going to receive it moment by moment. So we're not looking for one big goal. We're looking for something that we're going to receive moment by moment. And a vision evolves, an inspiration evolves because we're listening to it. And so this isn't a path that you have to force. It's not something you have to make happen. It's not something that you have to plan for. It is something that you respond to and you listen to. So I think if you get nothing else out of tonight or out of listening to this, what I want you to know is that that path is already inside you. It's already there. The only thing that's in the way is sometimes your mind, the way that you're thinking about it, the way that you're holding it, the way that you're assuming it's going to be. And the other thing that is in our way all this time is our own lack of self-love, our own lack of self-compassion. A lot of times we're forcing ourselves so much, we're pressuring ourselves so much that we don't really open up to what's there. So later on after the meditation, I'm going to read you some of the questions that came in. I got so many great questions, and so they're just going to guide us tonight, and you'll hear some of that. So that's mainly what I wanted to tell you about, is that for me, this is about receiving it. And I think what I want you to hold also is this is not a linear journey. This is not a linear journey. Your mind and your rational mind is trying to make it linear. This is explosive. This is inspired. This is exponential. We are talking about inspiration. We're not talking about force. We're talking about being on fire, being lit up from within. We're not talking about calculation, rationalization. And so again, the part of you that says, oh God, I don't even know if I have the energy, and I don't even know if I could, and I just don't even know if it's possible anymore. It's not possible for that self. That's a given. It's definitely not possible for that self. But the other self, the bright self that is within you, that's still calling you, the part of you that was brave enough to sign up for this, the part of you that was brave enough to show up for this, I'm talking to that part, right? So we're going to start with a meditation to just kind of get here. I guess I just need to check in. Paul is saying something about something's going on. Oh, okay. Great. But we're going to do a meditation, and I just want to see if there was anything else I wanted to tell you. No, I tried to be organized and have notes. It's very hard for me to be organized, by the way. This is, but I'm trying it out. What the hell? So we're going to start with a meditation. There's nothing formal to this. It's whatever, whatever feels good to you. It's just, for me, it's a chance to do an invocation. Please keep in mind, there are hundreds of us, if not thousands of us, that are in this experience. And so I want you to hold the energy, not only for yourself, but for them. And so we're just going to do this as a moment. And the whole point of this meditation or this invocation is, will you give yourself permission to begin again? Will you give yourself permission to begin again? There might be part of your brain that is dragging in the past and thinking, you know how things have been, you know how they will be, blah, blah, blah. And can we dare to begin again? So that's what we're opening up into this. And by the way, anything I say tonight, it may spark you, it may frustrate you, you may not resonate with it yet. Take what moves you and ignore the rest. Take what moves you and just play with that. Because again, for me, we're entering inspired time where, again, these minds are joining together to co-create something phenomenal. So, okay, so we're just going to take some deep breaths together. Let yourself be in a comfortable position wherever you are. And we're just going to slow down into this moment. Just knowing that nothing needs to happen in this moment. And you might just take a deep breath all the way into the core of your beingness. And then release, and release, and release. If it helps you at all, you might place your hand on your heart, or any other gesture that comforts you, that connects you, that reminds you of a connection that is in you, a power that is in you, a love that is within you. And even if you're tired tonight, or your mind is wandering, or you're distracted, together we are taking this moment and we are joining with you. And we are holding this energy, and we are not alone. And we are breathing into this space, and we are breathing into this willingness. I am willing to begin again. I am willing to begin for the very first time. I have never been in this moment before. I have never been in this moment before. I am willing to begin again. I'm willing to begin. And together we are calling in the strength, the love, the genius, the spirit within all of us, the light within all of us, the love within all of us. And together we are asking to co-create a safe and a sacred space. We are asking to co-create a safe and a sacred space. We are asking to ignite this space as a portal of truly beginning again. You are not alone. I am not alone. I have all these minds and hearts holding this space, and together we are co-creating a space of acceptance, of nurturing, of just being wherever you are, because wherever you are is where magic is. Wherever I am, that's where the magic is. Wherever I am, that's where I begin. We have the power to join together in this time, to be a sacred portal, to open up a field of inspired consciousness. We have the power to think new thoughts, to receive what is always true, to have the fears that have stopped us before begin to melt away in the presence of this love. We have the power. Together, we have the power to call in this force and this love of beginning. Our spirit, the divine, the inspired within us is always new and always beginning and always new. And so for a moment more, we simply rest, just being in this moment. And in this moment, for one moment more, perhaps asking your heart, telling your heart, I am here. I am willing to listen now. I am willing to receive. I don't need to know how. I don't need to know when. I don't need to know how. I don't need to know when. I don't need to know how. And I don't need to know when. But I'm willing. I'm willing to receive. I am willing to receive. I'm opening this portal and I'm willing to receive. See if there is anything in this moment that your heart wants you to know. Is there anything that my heart wants me to know in this moment? I'm willing to receive. And for one moment more, we hold this thought and this love and this presence for everyone here, everyone listening, everyone they will touch, everyone anywhere who is daring to live from their consciousness, from listening to the truth within them instead of their fear, instead of their guilt, instead of their diminishment. We are surrounding you now. We are holding this thought for each other. And as you feel ready and in your own time, just begin to allow your mind to return whenever it feels right to you. When you feel ready, let your beautiful bright light return. Yay. Thank you so much for joining me in that. All right, we're going to rock and roll. Thank you for, like that helped me. Thank you. um, so I would love to, I'm just going to say a few things about, again, about vision, because, you know, one of the ways that I know to find something is to find what's in the way of it. Sometimes the way to find something is instead of like looking for it head on, but I know in my coaching practice, so often when I'm working with someone, it's never about the thing, it's always about what's in the way of the thing, right? And so again, that's often what I see. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And so I think what I want you to know is the biggest thing that gets in the way of people's vision, and the biggest thing that gets in the way of knowing what it is constantly that how. But how will I do this? How will I do this? Yeah, I want this thing, or yeah, I'd love that, but how will I do it? And then the how gets in the way of holding the energy and the love and what you really want. It like stops it short, right? And so, so I'm going to invite you to start not thinking about the how as much right now as we're opening up in this field. We're just going to let go of the how for a moment. And because again, the how will get you in trouble. I'll give you an example. When a million years ago, you know, I knew that what I wanted out of my life, what I really, really wanted out of my life was freedom. I really wanted freedom. I wanted the freedom to do what I wanted in this lifetime. That's what I wanted, was freedom. And so my brain got in there with the how. And my brain thought, oh, you should make money, because if you want freedom, you should make money, and then you could do what you wanted. And so then that led to, oh, you should go to law school because you'll be a lawyer, and then you'll make money, and then you can do what you wanted. And so it's a great example about, I completely lost track of my goal. My goal was freedom. My goal was feeling great. And I got into the how, and I got into doing law, which was anything but freedom. And so again, that's what happens to many of us, is we get stuck into the how and we forget the original goal. If I'd stayed in touch with the goal of, I want to feel free. What makes me feel free? What makes me feel free? What makes me feel free? So that's what we're going to be doing tonight, or I'm going to be asking you to think about, is what your goals feel like, what your visions feel like, and staying in touch with the feeling rather than going after the how as much. So, but we'll talk about that. So I wanted to, yes, this is the other thing I wanted to tell you about it, was just that so often what happens for people is that they start on the path of the vision, they start on the path of their dreams, they start on their path of what they want in their lives, and then they hit a block, or then they hit a difficulty, or then they hit a challenge. Anybody relate to that? I need nodding heads. Yes? Okay. Challenges, blocks, obstacles. Yay! We all agree. What I want you to know about that is that that's the way. If you're hitting a challenge or an obstacle or a block, that's very often the path to doing your dreams or your vision, because what this path is really about is undoing the blocks that are in the way of the love that's already there. And so I think that our dream or our vision takes us forward so that we will undo anything that's in the way, and we will be transformed. Most of us think it's, oh, well, when I get over there, I'll be happy. But again, it's the way that we get there that transforms us. It's the way that we get there. How vision is different than a goal, than just goal setting, is that for me, a vision, really the way that you get there is as important as the thing itself. The way that you get there is as important as anything you're trying to get to, meaning it should be working all along the way. And by the way, if you're hitting challenges and difficulties, that doesn't mean it's not working. It might be, wow, you're so on the path. You hit your biggest block. Yay, because that's what's supposed to happen, right? Most of us think that, well, if I just pick the right goal, I'll just bypass all that. But that's not true. This is a path of transformation. So I just wanted to mention that to you. The other thing I'll just say really quickly about vision and goals, pay attention to which part of you is choosing this goal. Which part of you is choosing this vision? First of all, is it coming from your head or is it coming from your heart? right? Is it coming from my head like, I really need to get it together now because, I'm a certain age and I need to be making money, or I need to do this, or I need to have that, or whatever. Or is it coming from your heart like, oh my God, what I'd love to experience, what I'd love to have in my life, what I've always wanted in my life, oh my God, this would be amazing, right? So pay attention to how it feels. Pay attention to who's deciding. And by the way, sometimes your vision that comes from your heart might be, I want to heal. I want to heal. I've been struggling, or I've had this anger with my brother, or I've had this long-standing issue from my childhood, or whatever it is. And this year I want to heal, right? So again, a vision might not be this big glorious thing. It might be, what's the next thing that my heart or soul is really asking me for? The other thing about asking which part of you is asking this is, where's the intention coming from? Is the intention coming from anger? Like, okay, you idiot, you have messed up enough of your life. like I've had it. You've messed up enough decades. This decade, we're doing X. Not a good recipe. Not a good recipe to love breeds love, love breeds love breeds love. Anger breeds anger, fear breeds fear, right? So again, I would pay attention to which part of you is wanting this. So and then here's my formula basically, that we're going to be talking about is, I want to get in touch with the biggest, wildest, craziest vision, the thing you really, really, really want. Not that you should want or could want or whatever, the thing you really, really want. A really just wow, the thing that would oh my God, that would be so good. That would be way too good to be true. And then what we're going to do is for me, it's always about that biggest, wildest dream, but then it's always about the tiniest infinitesimal steps, that tiniest baby steps, right? So it's always big dreams, tiny, tiny steps. And then the big thing is, how do I do the journey in between? How do I do that journey in between? And that journey in between is all going to be about self-love. It's going to be all about self-love and forgiving myself and being with myself. Yeah, and the other quick thing I will say, and then I'm going to jump into the questions, is many, many people have written in. I loved your questions, by the way. Oh my God, I love them so much. I couldn't include everybody, obviously, or we'd be here for weeks. But I just love them, and I tried to group them together. And then I'm going to ask some of you live what you think and all that good stuff. But some of you had said, God, I don't even have a vision. I don't even have an inspiration. I don't even know what I should want. How do I take a step if I don't even know what it is? And so I want to alleviate that fear, because for me, a lot of times you take the steps to find out the vision. A lot of times we think we have to have this big vision so that we can take the steps. And we're standing there in the vacuum going, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And for me, it's about taking steps and taking baby steps and exploring and experimenting and seeing. And that's how I kick into, oh my God, here's the vision. Because again, I'll say this 100 times to you, the vision's already there. You already have this vision inside you. You already have this path inside you. We're trying to just give you the safety and the love and the reassurance to have it come out. So I'm going to read some of the questions, but before I do, I want to ask some of you live, what are your thoughts about beginning again, or about vision? Oh my God, what did I just do? I'm switching here, and a lot of you don't have, I can't see now. Okay. I'm calling on people I can see, if you're live here. So now everybody's going to turn their camera off. But I shouldn't tell you that. I'm just curious. Just a few people. If you have a hand, if you just want to make a comment, or just what does beginning again mean to you, or vision, or what's stopping you from your vision? Maybe that's a good way to look at this. I'm just going to, you know what, Christian, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call you baby, because I was talking to you before. So hi.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, when we met, I was struggling with believing in myself and loving myself and giving, I guess, feeding whatever those dreams are.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the dreams are still hungry, but I'm closer now. And some of it is by what you said, just taking steps. You know what I mean? The steps that I was doing to fix the problems in front of me that you can't control, like needing money, needing a job. The universe is giving me the time and the space and the opportunities just by being open to that. So, I mean,
Awesome.
the last leg, or my, Himalayas or Mount Everest, I don't know what it is, but I'm getting to base camp 1. There we are.
Absolutely. Well, but you do know the Himalayas. Tell me a Himalaya moment. Tell me
I'm
something.
like, I mean, it's slowly I'm getting there. Like living in LA, it's easy to be like, oh my God, I want to, win an Oscar. I want to be on TV, or I want to work with this person. And it's weird that like now I'm starting to like connect with that and seeing how I feel about it. And then it's like you said, like, what are the blocks? Oh, well, I need to know how to do X before I can do that. And I think once those things present themselves, it's easier to just plow through.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And I'll just say quickly, because by the way, the reason I ask people for questions or to talk is because we are all so similar. We may have different goals, different life paths, but there's so much similarity. And so just using your language, Christian, because I like it. It's like if you're thinking about your Himalayas, the thing you might really, really want, the high point of what you really, really want, I might always ask too, is this what I really, really want? Like, does it light me up? Does it like, oh my God, that would feel so good? Or sometimes it's let's say you live in LA, right? So it's like, well, everybody has to win an Oscar. Everybody has to have their own show on Showtime, or, so because for me, sometimes I have to ask myself that I have a conditioned mind that like I just start jumping through hoops. And yeah, I left law, but now I'll go on into this career and I'll think, well, everybody has an online business that has to be an empire. So then I have to have an empire, right? And so I have to keep being honest with myself about, is that what lights you up? Is that what lights you up, right? And so, on both sides, right? We want to ask, does it light me up? And then sometimes you want to ask yourself, does it light me up sometimes it doesn't light you up because you don't think you can have it. You think it's so far away. You think it's so impossible. Or I remember I was working with a client recently and she was telling me, Tama, I'm sick of my dream. I don't even want to tell you my dream anymore. I'm so sick of writing down, I want blah, blah, blah. I want blah, 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 right? And so sometimes we've lost touch with it, right? Because I've done it too, where you get disconnected because you secretly believe you can't even have it. And so if you don't believe you can have it, all the energy is gone, right? And so that's why I want to help you get in touch with all of you. What's the real dream? Because only the real dream has the power. Only the real dream. What I was saying to you before, there's something brilliant in all of us that can do anything. I do not believe in a linear reality. I believe it's exponential. I believe there's a power in you that can blow matter away, that there can be a connection and synchronicity, things that just are unbelievable. I do not believe you can plan an inspired life, but you have to stay honest. You have to stay honest about what you really want. And so again, sometimes you don't know what you really want because you've been afraid to want it. So thank you, Christian, for letting me play with you. Thank you. Anybody, I just want to hear maybe one other person here. Let's see, who else can I see here? Kelly, I never get to talk to you live. Do you mind if I call on you? Hi. Oops, I think you're muted now. Okay.
Hi.
There you are.
How are you?
I'm good. Can you speak up? It's a little low.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful. What do you think about beginning again? Or what's a dream for you, or something that's on your mind as you're listening? Or
I just like hearing your voice again. I just like hearing you talk about being in the moment, and every moment being a new moment, because it's just
beautiful.
Because beginning again for me is sort of begin again. It's something that I've been trying for a long, long time.
Beautiful.
So I picture a spiral. Like,
yes, picturing a spiral.
Yeah, doing it again, but doing it this new iteration of it, which is different than the last one.
Absolutely. And Kelly, that is, and by the way, I think actually now that I'm thinking about it, you wrote in a question, and I think I am using your question in the questions I'll read, but I think it's a huge part of this. For me, the biggest part I have learned out of this journey that I continue to have to learn over and over and over is having the courage to begin again, is having that courage. And when I say begin again, it's the courage to be innocent and not jaded. It's easy to get jaded. It's easy to get disgusted. It's easy to write it off. It's easy to just say, ugh, it didn't work, forget it. I mean, there's a lot of people that will say, You know, Tama, I tried it already. You know, I tried it once. I'm like thinking, oh, great. You know, like when you've tried it 15,000 times, come back to me. But seriously, that a lot of times that we think, oh, you know, and it's easy to get discouraged. It really is. And it takes so much courage for all of us to keep opening up and daring again to open up our hearts again. So I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, but thank you. And thank you for letting me call on you there. So I'll talk to some more of you as we go along, but I'm just going to read some of the questions that came in because they really were just phenomenal and they kind of represented a lot of the things that are on. So again, some of them might speak to you, some of them might not. And then, by the way, then we're going to do an exercise with all of this. So we're going to get, you know, I always call this foreplay, you know, so like for me, this is like, I want to get you in the mood, right? Because if we go straight into an exercise, you'll be on the top of your minds. You know, if you ever come to my retreats, you know, I talk about this all the time about we enter inspired space because it's the way that we think that's blocking everything. It's the way that we think that's getting in our way. And so if I can start gradually shifting the way that you think, we're all doing that, we're holding this energy together, then when we do the exercises, they're that much more potent. They're that much more alive because we've been undoing the blocks. Otherwise, sometimes you don't get results because you're doing it from the top of your brain. And I don't care what your brain says. I couldn't care less what your brain says. I want to know what your soul says. I want to know what your heart says. This is not a linear path. If you want to, you know, there is a lot of goal setting linear paths. They're great, I'm sure. And, you know, and if that's what somebody wants, that's phenomenal. But a lot of times it's way too small. I deeply believe every one of you is this maverick, is this light that came here for something else, to be alive and happy and ignited in a different way. Again, that's not a linear path. It's opening up to this strength that's in all of us expressed differently, right? So I'm going to read you some of the questions and then some of my thoughts about it. I lumped them into categories to organize them for myself. So somebody asked, is there anything too unrealistic? I thought that was a good question. Is there anything too unrealistic? I will say that, first of all, everything's too unrealistic to your brain. Your brain will think, that's unrealistic. That's unrealistic. First of all, I hope it's unrealistic. I want it to be unrealistic because if it's just what you know, how boring is that? If it's just what you know, then it's limiting you to something smaller. It's limiting you to the known world. It's like, is it this or is it that? And so, you know, I work with a lot of clients where they'll say, well, Tam, I could do this or I could do that. And I'll think, or you could do 5,000 other things. There's a lot of nuances. So again, sometimes you're trying to be realistic, which means you're limiting yourself to the world that you know. And I want to know the world that you don't know yet. I want you to follow that whisper or that breadcrumb or that idea because it's going to lead you into a strength you don't even know you have, right? So again, I think your brain is going to say everything's unrealistic. Again, I will say the thing that I've said before, this is in my book, This Time I Dance. Only the real dream has the power. Only the real dream has the power. If you start taking down your dream, meaning making it practical, making it realistic, making it fit in, it loses some of the energy. And like I said, you know, going back to Kelly's spiral of beginning again and beginning again, or Christians going up to the Himalayas, we need energy to do that. We need passion to do that. If you're going to compromise your dream, you're going to not have the energy to do it, right? So again, I'm always about big, wild dreams and then tiny, tiny little steps. And here's the other thing I will say, please keep this in mind about vision. You may start off with one vision and it starts morphing, it starts changing. I'm not about you pick one thing and then that's it. You pick one thing to start with and it starts moving and changing as you get more information. So again, who cares what the big vision is? That if it lights you up, that's all I care about. And then we'll keep shifting it as we go. Somebody else also asked about the idea of it being too big. She asked, how do I convince myself that even though my vision is enormous, it's possible? Right? How do I convince myself that even though my vision is enormous, it's possible? And so I think, again, and you can try this on and do what you will with it, but I don't believe that this dream is of you. I do not believe we choose our dreams. I do not believe we choose our dreams. I believe they choose us. I do not believe that we choose our visions. I believe they choose us. And what that means is if you've got a seed in you to be a tulip, you can try to be a daffodil and a rose and a God knows what, but you're meant to be a tulip, and you're going to thrive as a tulip, right? And so for very often, I didn't even want my dream. There's been times in my life where I kind of argued with the universe, like, why can't I have a rational dream? Like, why can't I have a lucrative dream? Why can't I have a dream that, why don't I want to do brain surgery? That would be convenient. That pays well. Why can't I have the passion to do? You don't get to choose what you are. You get to choose whether you honor it, you bless it, you go with it. But you don't get to choose what it is, right? So again, I don't want you fighting your nature. I want you fighting for your nature. So in terms of convincing yourself if it's possible or not, it may be enormous to you. It's child's play to the power that's in you. It may be enormous or unthinkable to you, but it's child's play to the part of you that knows how to do this. I think of the metaphor, it's overused, but it's a good metaphor of the caterpillar and the butterfly, right? The caterpillar is saying, oh my God, how could I ever fly? I could never, ever do that. Well, the caterpillar's right and it's wrong. The caterpillar's not going to fly, but the butterfly is. Right? So it's the same thing with all of us, that the self that you know might not be able to do it. But there's another presence in you that can do so much more if you start feeding it and you allow it, right? And for me, that's what this journey is all about. It's not even whether you get to the goal or not. It's that you wake up to this power in you, that you wake up to this love in you, that you wake up to something else that's in you. So great question. So here's, I'm categorizing these questions on the difference between your plans and your ideas about how this is going to work versus the inspired path. Because we got some questions about, our plans, right? Oh, by the way, the best question I got, I forgot to start. I wanted to start with this. This was the best question I got. It was from a woman named Tama. I'm not kidding. A woman named Tama, and she said, 2020 is the year of the Tamas, right? Right. I thought that was a great question. I love that question, and I agree, Tama. So sorry. But I was talking about our plans versus, the inspired plans. So I just want to make sure I've got that. Yes. Okay. So somebody had asked, how can I quit architecture and focus on healing arts and Ayurveda? How can I quit architecture and focus on healing arts and Ayurveda? So many of you might relate to this because maybe you want to quit something else and focus on something else, right? But what I liked about this question is it wasn't really a question, right? It wasn't really a question. The question is, how can I quit architecture and focus on healing arts and Ayurveda? And the reason I say it's not really a question is because there was an answer that was assumed in that question. For me, the real question is, how do I focus on healing arts and Ayurveda? How do I focus on healing arts and Ayurveda? You made the assumption, as many of us do, that I have to quit architecture to do it, that that's the plan, that that's the path, right? How do I do this so that I can do that? That might not be the plan. I don't know. But I think the real question I'd always ask is, how do I give my love to this thing? How do I give my love to this thing, right? And don't start asking the hows, right? And so, so again, for me, it's that if I build out love, all the other answers are going to come, because sometimes you're going to focus on the healing arts, and it's going to become so alive for you that it's not even going to be a question about whether I need to leave architecture or not. Or maybe I'm happy in architecture when I'm doing what I love. Maybe I don't even have to leave architecture, right? So again, the reason I chose that, though, is that that a lot of times we're not asking a real question. We're kind of asking, we kind of have our own plan within that, right? So same thing here. There was another question of, how do I know when it's time to leap? How do I know when it's time to leap, right? And I think a lot of people have that. Again, I think the time chooses you. You don't choose it, right? The time chooses you. You know when you know when you know. And a lot of times when people are asking, how do I know when it's time to leap? there's a lot of frustration in it. There's a lot of pain in it. There's a lot of like almost self-attack. Like, when are you going to do this already? When are you going to show up already? Right. And so I want you to pay attention to your questions. Are the questions a veiled plan? Are the questions a veiled self-attack? And so again, when you're asking, how do you know when it's time? It's a choiceless choice. That's the beauty of this path. It chooses you. It will guide you. Your job is to be self-loving along the way and listen and receive and go, what do I know in this moment? What do I know in this moment? What do I know in this moment? To me, that's the only way I know how to do this. So another question was, how do I love this one? Any tips on focusing on the best, most enjoyable and profitable business to move on? I'm surprised that it was only that. I mean, don't you want the best, most enjoyable, profitable business that happens instantaneously, that blah, blah? I'm joking around, but can you hear the pressure in that question? The pressure. It's got to be the best. It's got to be the most enjoyable. It's got to make the most money. It's got to be, there's a lot of pressure in it. Watch out for the questions that pressure you, right? That are just like, there's so many conditions in it already that there's no chance to breathe. There's no chance to play because it's got to make money right away and it's got to be smart right away. And again, sometimes it's a veiled attack of, because I don't want to waste any more time, right? I don't want to screw up. I don't want to blow it, right? So again, just start noticing it. I thought that was, it made me laugh. So what did I say here? Okay. So again, part of that question also, for me, a lot of that question was a thinking question. It's thinking about things and it's thinking about things. I don't care what your mind thinks. I want to know what you know. This is not a thinking path. This is a knowing path. And knowing, by the way, gets into the realm of feeling, right? So a lot of times when you're confused because you have lots of ideas and lots of ideas and lots of ideas, it's of the mind. I want to know what you feel. The feelings don't lie, right? And again, we're going to unblock what's ever in the way. So here's some other questions that came in. These questions were about overwhelm. So again, I'm sure some of you relate to all to this, hitting different themes here. So somebody had written in, this is the decade for me to share my voice with my tribe, except I get so overwhelmed with all the pieces of my life. How do I make all the pieces of my life fit so that I have time to do my writing? How do I help myself manage the overwhelm? So, one of the things I know about overwhelm is that very often overwhelm isn't that there's too many things to do. It's that I'm not doing the one thing I really want to do. Sometimes overwhelm isn't that there's too many things to do, but I'm not doing the one thing that really is indispensable to me. So like you had said here, how do I do all of this so that I can finally get to my writing? And I would think, how do you get to your writing and then fit all that other stuff in? Because it's never going to work the other way. And you feel overwhelmed and angry and resentful because you're not doing the one thing you know you need to do or the one thing you know you want to do. So I would always say, let's make that first. Let's make the important thing first, and then we'll fit in some of the other things. Also, the other part of overwhelm, who isn't overwhelmed at this point in life? Is there anybody that's not feeling overwhelmed? There's so much information that comes to us. There's so much, like that question before of most profitable, most enjoyable, most whatever. That's true for all of us. We're putting so much pressure on ourselves at all times to be the maximized, the optimal, the most enlightened, the most whatever. And it's like, take the pressure off. Please take the pressure off. Please make this a safe space. If you've ever taken my workshops, you know that I always quote, it's Abraham Maslow, and I always say that all creativity comes from safety. All creativity comes from safety. It comes from non-judgment. If you start taking the pressure off and releasing the judgment, you start having a way and it's already there. So for me, that's always the path, is how do I make this easier, simpler, more loving, not less, right? So we're going to play with that. So along the overwhelmed thought, somebody else wrote, how does one prioritize making art when life has so many distractions? And so again, I think what happens for many of us is that we minimize what we really want to do. So in that question, like we might secretly have the belief that making art is frivolous. And if I get to it, that would be great. But I have these real things I have to do. I might redefine it. So whatever your dream is or your goal is, what if you redefined it instead of as, oh, it's just something that's fun, it's something I love, but who knows? What if it's indispensable? What if it's my life force? What if this is my ministry? What if this is the way I meet my God? What if this is my medicine? What if this is the thing that is going to help me stay sane and healthy and alive, right? I want to redefine it. I want you to start knowing the sacred powers that are inside of this. Because again, what I know from this path is like, oh my God, you have no idea how amazing it is when you start meeting your powers. I think a lot of you do know how amazing it is. And so again, we're buying into an old paradigm, or we're buying into a culture that minimizes us or diminishes creativity or spirituality or art or the things that you love. Don't buy into that paradigm, because again, you know, a sense of strength and a sense of wealth that will come from that will blow you away. So again, part of that might be just redefining what that is. Some other questions that came in are, so somebody else also asked, what happens when you have several goals and several visions? You know, I have so many different things I want to do, right? How do I figure out or prioritize them? And I always think that you don't ever figure it out. You don't ever figure it out, you let it out. You don't figure it out, you let it out. And what I, you know, if you and I were working together individually, what I would always be working with you on is, let's follow the heat. Let's follow the heat. Like, you don't want a million things right now. You want one thing. You want, like, yeah, you want different things, but there's like one thing that's really speaking to you right now. That's all I care about. That's that next breadcrumb, right? So that priority comes from just like, yeah, I have a million different ideas, but right now, this is what I want. Sometimes what I want right now is sleep, right? That might be your vision. That might be your vision for the month. You know what? I want to sleep, or I want to not have a vision. I'm so sick of myself. I'm so sick of thinking about it, right? So again, it's like, really, I trust that advisor that's in you. I trust that native intelligence that's in you. I trust that love that's in you. I want to listen to that. I don't want to deny it. Don't have those questions that are predisposed, meaning they already have secret acceptable answers, like, oh, I want to hear my vision. I want to hear my vision, just as long as it makes money, just as long as it's practical, just as long as it doesn't take too much time, right? Just as long as my sister won't laugh at it. I want you to know whatever you know in this moment. That's all I care about, right? So love some of those questions. Here's some of the other questions that came in about, what if you've had a vision, you've had a dream, you've had ideas, but they're not happening. They haven't happened, they're not happening. And so somebody had written in, I've had a vision for a long time, it hasn't materialized. Is my vision not correct? Where am I going wrong? And I thought that was a really good question. I think a lot of us have. You know, I think on an inspired path, again, you're going to hit blocks, you're going to hit obstacles, you're going to hit difficulties. That's the path. So what I want you to look at always is there movement? Is there movement? Maybe it's not what I thought. Maybe it's not the goal, the end goal that I thought, but is there something that's alive still? Is there some kind of movement that's alive still? So I'll give you an example. You know, for me, the way that you know you're on the right path is even when it's challenging, or there's some kind of movement, there's some kind of something that's still speaking to you. So, you know, when I first started, when I first put This Time I Dance out, my first book, and I put myself on the road, you know, because I was going to be a national author now, you know, and I was going to get out there and be all famous and everything. And so I decided, that's it. I'm going to invest in my life, and I'm going to put myself on the road, and I'm going to rent a hotel, and I'm going to speak to people. And I think the first workshop I did, I think I had 4 people come, you know, or 5 people come, and my linear brain is adding up airfare, car rental, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm going like into debt with this workshop. And part of me thinks this is an abysmal failure. This is not working. This dream is not happening. But here's the other side of it. When I actually did the workshop, it felt so alive and it felt so good. And by the way, I had to force myself to stay present with the workshop and not my brain that was going, but how much money are you making? Or how is this going to lead to something? Or what if you don't make money in the future? I had to stay present with the work and present with the people who showed up. And when I stayed present with the work and present with the people, something happened in me where I felt like, I don't know what the hell this is, but I'll serve it. I don't know what the heck this is, but this is so alive for me. This has to be right. And I reframed it. So I'm good at reframing, like this is where my lawyer brain kicks in. I can prove any case, and so I finally decided, you know what, I might as well use this damn brain for something instead of getting in my way. And so I decided that instead of saying, oh my God, you spent thousands of dollars and you didn't make money, I decided to say, oh my God, what a steal. Oh my God, what a steal. I had the most profound experience, one of them of my lifetime. It was like I was working with a personal shaman that I should have spent $1 zillion for, and I got it for, a few $100, So I reframed it that way because for me, it was true. It was true. It was like, this was a formative experience in my lifetime. And it would be such a silly idea to use a metric that didn't apply. Money is not the only metric. Money is a lame metric, right? Again, how does it feel to you? That's the metric I care about. So again, when you're saying it hasn't happened yet, I want you to look at what's happening as you're going along. Is there something in those moments that are happening that are still propelling you? Are you learning? Are you shifting? I've just come through a long period of time of trying to hire somebody. And I've gone through a lot of challenges of hiring different people. And it's been really, and a lot of you are laughing already because a lot of you have heard me whine about it. Or you've been in Life Tribe and you've heard me whine about it. It was not the journey I thought, because I thought, well, how hard could this be? I'll just set my goal, I'll set my intention, I'll just do it, but actually I had block after block after block because I was healing myself, because I was healing long-standing patterns of believing maybe I didn't deserve it, or believing that it had to be hard, or all kinds of beliefs I had that I didn't even know I had. And thankfully, it resolved phenomenally, making it so worth it. But all along the way, how do you keep going when it's challenging? You keep going by finding movement in the challenge. There's something you're learning, it's a private seminar all along. I kept seeing that I was growing. I kept seeing that I was getting closer to what I wanted every single time. So again, make it meaningful as you're going along, not just when you get there. We have to find meaning as you're going along. And the meaning is always, what am I learning? How am I growing? And again, if you feel like you're hitting the same block over and over and over, because that's what I felt like, over and over and over. It's like, I now believe the universe loves me so much, that it just said, oh, honey, let's look at this again. Oh, honey, I think there's a little bit more to clear up in this, nice try, but let's try it again. I was a little bit of a remedial student in some issues, right? And so again, sometimes when you're hitting the same thing again and again, it's because we're healing something huge. And we want to have compassion for that. And we are learning. So again, I'm going to read one other question about that. Somebody had asked me, how do I make it happen when I'm depressed, anxious, grieving, and feeling defeated, right? Great question. My thought was, you don't make it happen when you're feeling anxious, defeated, and grieving. What you do is you grieve. If you're in a grieving period or you're going through something challenging, please don't put this extra stupid pressure on yourself that you have to do something else. That's your next step. If you're in a grief process right now, that's your next step. Wherever you are right now, that's your next step. It's never not happening. Your vision is never not happening. I deeply believe there's purpose and genius in all of it if you open up to what's going on. Okay, a few quickie others, and then we're going to jump into the exercise. So one of them was also, the other question came up about old stories, same thing we've been talking about a little bit here, old stories. Somebody had said, at 60, how can I get momentum? I have so many decades of fear, resistance, and procrastination behind me and around me and in front of me. So the first thing I would ask anybody who's going at 60, at 70, at 20, or being a woman, being a man, being this ethnicity, being that of that tribe, being in this city, being in that kind of situation, whatever we're doing, let's drop the identity for a moment. Because the second you say at 60, I'm putting an identity in there. And the power that's in you and the light that's in you and the love that's in you is not stuck by that identity. Right? Of that power and that love is unlimited. It doesn't care what your circumstances are. Your spirit is not your circumstances, right? So I don't care if you're 90, I don't care if you're 10, right? You're just going to be listening to what's true for you in this moment. Don't start defining yourself by circumstances. Doesn't mean that we're not going to face reality. But again, I'm talking about the big vision part here, right? So again, start paying attention to where am I limiting myself or thinking that my identity is my circumstance. Instead of it's just my circumstance, my spirit, my soul. You know, one of the things I had to tell myself all the time, many of you know that it took me over 12 years to write my first book. I didn't have an agent, a contract, a publisher, and anything. I had to constantly tell myself, I am not this circumstance. My circumstances were like, you're an idiot. You're a dreamer. You're a crazy person. You're delusional. You just think, oh, I'm going to be a big time author because I believe it. You know, my brain was like telling me that all the time. And I always had to tell myself, I am not my circumstances. I am the truth inside myself. I know this truth inside myself. I feel this love. I feel this strength. I am not the circumstances. I'm the truth inside me, and the truth inside me can shape the circumstances. So again, I want you to get in touch with that always. So final thing about stories. Somebody else asked, I wish I would have numbered these pages. I got to get better at organizing. So how do I get past old stories and disappointments to have new hope? Same theme, right? So one of the best things I know to get past old stories, because they come up again and again and again. First of all, they're supposed to come up. They're supposed to come up because it's what we're healing. This is the whole path. The reason we have a vision is so that we can get past these stories. They're supposed to come up for healing, right? And so for me, two things about getting past old stories. One of them is, and I'm borrowing from A Course in Miracles, and as many of you know, I've taught A Course in Miracles for close to 30 years now. It is the source of everything I do and the source of everything behind my thinking. But one of the things that it teaches is, I don't know what anything means. I don't know what anything means. So when you're stuck, when you get a rejection, when you get a lover who leaves, when you get a lease that falls through, when you all of a sudden have money issues yet again, your brain starts filling in the blanks and going, oh, here we go again. It's always this way. I'd like you to interrupt that thought pattern and say, I don't know what anything means. I don't know what anything means. And then from A Course in Miracles, again, it's, I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to see this differently. My mind is going to tell me that this is the same story. My mind is going to tell me I'm on the same path, but I'm willing to see this differently, right? So that's part of the strategy we play with in this. The other thing that I wanted to say, I got this when I was writing my last book, Thriving Through Uncertainty. A lot of my old stories started blocking me. A lot of my old stories of like, oh, it's hard and, you know, it's going to be tough. And then you have to market it. Blah, blah. And it stopped me from writing. And here's the thing about stories. They stop you from acting. And you know what? Taking action will blow your stories apart. Your old stories stop you from taking steps and actions. And if you take steps and actions, it will blow your old stories out of the water. So that's the only thing I know is keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. If you keep moving, those old stories will shift. When my old stories were stopping me from writing, when I started writing again, I was connected again. I was connected to my strength. Those stories didn't matter. So anything that connects you to your love, that's what I want to focus on. So finally, I want to talk a little bit about staying motivated, and then we're going to jump in. So somebody had asked, what would be your tip for sustaining your vision? Big thing is keep your hand in it. Keep your hand in it always. It's, especially like tonight, you'll get inspired, you'll get ignited. We're going to tap some visions. We're going to play with some things. And so you're going to, again, keep your hand in it. And by keeping your hand in it, I mean, even if it's small, even if it's 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes every other day, make it simple, make it easy, but keep it consistent. I'm much more interested in consistent small steps than in big heroic actions. Like, oh, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to write the great American novel, immediately. I want just tiny, tiny little commitments. So anything that keeps your hand in it, because I don't know about you, but my brain lies to me all the time. It tells me, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm not in the mood. I don't think that's going to work. And if you take this step and you start taking steps, something blows apart, something happens. The other thing I will say is that, in terms of staying with something, I think it's really, really important to stay connected to the things that inspire you. I really think there's so many distractions in this world. There's so much media telling you other things. Those of us who are on a conscious path, we want to stay connected to the things that matter to us, the things that ignite us. For me, it's a different way of thinking, a different way of being. So I'm always going to advocate, being with a coach, being with a group, being with a friend who, believes in the same things. Get outside influences, get an accountability partner. It's one of the reasons I created the Inspired and Unstoppable Life Tribe that, that many of you know, and that I'll talk a little bit about later of, it's just, for me, I wanted to create an affordable program that people would just stay together and just get ignited when they needed it, just get their mind shifted again when they need it, just because for me, it's more important that you get consistent support, consistent little bits of it to change your thinking. If we change your thinking, we'll change your reality. So anything that supports you that way, you might think if you're not staying motivated on your own, if you're not on fire on your own, get around people, get around other people, or there's a gazillion resources online. If it's not my tribe, maybe it's something else, something inferior, of course, because my tribe is the better one, we know, but you can go do those other things. But anything that, again, that supports you or ignites. I used to think, I shouldn't need that. But again, we live in a world that is competing for our attention constantly. I personally think I am where I am because I surround myself with the people who believe like I do. I'm constantly in communication with the people who believe like I do. And so we're constantly igniting that. That's why I get as much out of that life tribe from all of you beautiful souls as you get out of me, because the shifts and the love that comes out of that just blows me away. So, so again, you might just think about that. All right, I want to talk a little bit about, I'll say one other quick thing about staying motivated. Somebody wrote, what is the one thing that helps you stay on the path toward a life you desire? I'll say the same thing again. It's about doing it, doing it, doing it. Take a step. Take a step. You don't need to have the perfect vision. I want you to just take a step. And here's the thing that I'll say, it's from Inspired and Unstoppable. You don't empower the gift. The gift empowers you. You don't empower the gift. The gift empowers you. So that's some overviews. I want to jump into talking a little bit about what we're going to do tonight in terms of exercise. And so I'm loving seeing the chats here. I'm trying not to read them because I'll get totally distracted. And so, but I love fun. So, okay, so here's a few things about the technique we're going to play with tonight. We're just going to do a few things with it. So in terms of getting in touch with what you love or a vision, it's not a one-time thing, right? Like if you get nothing else out of tonight, it's something that keeps evolving and keeps evolving and keeps growing and keeps morphing. So one of the biggest things I would say is before you even try to, like let's not be coming into, oh my God, I want to come up with my life vision and my purpose and my genius and my love without forgiving your past. If you're dragging in the past that says, I'm never going to make it, I always screw up, it's never worked for me before, it's really hard to dream a dream when I have that going on. So if you have something that's been stopping you, or a story that's been stopping you that you really can't see differently, or you really can't heal, then let's work with that. Let's work with a way to forgive that. Make that your focus. And by forgiving it, I mean, forgiving it, I also mean seeing it differently. Seeing the innocence in it, right? So again, just anything you can do to work towards forgiving the past, or any old stories that you have that way, that get in your way. One of the things that I constantly do, like we just did it in the Inspired Life Tribe. I always, before I have us like begin a new year, begin a new whatever, I have us really focus on what's been working. I really have us focus on everything that's already succeeded, everything that's already been good. So we'll do a step with that. We'll start off, I'll tell you the steps and then we'll do it, I think. Or maybe I won't. You know what, I'll tell you the steps and then we'll do it. So the next step that I would have you do is we'd focus on the gratitude. We'd focus on gratitude of like 3 things that have been working, 3 things that have really worked out, 3 things that are moving in the right direction. Maybe it's 10 things that are moving in the right direction, right? Before we even get in touch with a vision, I want to get in touch with that energy of what's already working, how it's already moving, right? So then what we're going to do is we're getting the how out of the way. I'm not even thinking about how this could ever happen. We're just going to try to get in touch with, oh my God, if the hows weren't there, the timing wasn't there, what would I love? What would I love to experience? And so we'll do an exercise with that. But what we're trying to do here, where I'm ultimately going, is I want to get in touch with the picture of what you want, not so much because of the picture, but because of the feeling. I want the feeling of what you want even more than the picture. So I'm borrowing from, oh my God, I'm looking at Paul and I'm seeing that's Paul and that's my cat Kelsey on him, crawling all over him. Oh my God, that's great. That's her new hangout. I love it. Totally got distracted there. Sorry. So I'm borrowing from Mike Dooley here, and Mike Dooley talks a lot about visioning. And one of the things that he says is, do you want abundance or do you want the Ferrari? Do you want abundance or do you want the Ferrari? And what it means by that is sometimes we get so hooked on, oh, I want a Ferrari and it's got to be red and it's got to have this, that it's like you don't really necessarily want the specific goal as much as you want that feeling. Let the universe, let your muse, let your inspiration show you something that you don't even know you want. You want abundant. Maybe you want the Ferrari because it makes you feel abundant, and that's what you really want. So that's what but for me personally, sometimes I need specifics to get in touch with the feeling. I can't just get in touch with the feeling. So sometimes I need the specifics or the dream, and then I can tap into what that feels like. Because here's another thought, by the way, from A Course in Miracles. You don't even perceive your own best interests. You don't even perceive your own best interests. So sometimes your brain is thinking, I need to have this goal, or, I want that goal. Or sometimes our conditioning, like I live in LA, so I should win an Oscar. I live in New York, so I should be an investment banker. Again, our conditioning. But we don't even perceive our own best interests, because this is a path of healing. This is a path of transforming. This is a path of birthing into a power you don't even know you have, right? So we're going to allow those visions to be, to vision us, to receive that vision rather than to make it be that, right? So again, so that's what we're going to be playing with. We're going to get in touch with the picture of it so that we get in touch with the feeling of it. So let's play with it. First, before we even do that, I'm just going to have you spend a minute or two. I want you to start writing down, what am I really grateful for? What's really working out right now? 5 things that are really working for me, or things I'm grateful for, or things I'm proud of myself. Maybe you could even start with, I'm proud of myself for doing this. I'm proud of myself for, always educating myself and being here. And so again, 3 or 5 things that are speaking to you of things that you're proud of, that you're grateful for, things that are working, because I want you to feel that energy. So we'll just do that for a minute or two, and then we'll jump into the next part of the exercise. Okay, so you may, again, I'm just going to give you the quickie version of this, and you can always do this in longer versions, but so let's just play around with a vision part of this. So again, you know, like I always just like take all the conditions off. We're just playing. You can answer this question a million different times, a million different ways. We're just playing tonight in inspired energy, or whenever you're listening to this. If money was, and I don't care if you've done this exercise 5,000 times, some of you have done it 5,000 times with me. Let's do 5,000 times more, because this is a new moment. We've never been here before. This is an inspired moment where we're all together. And so I'd like you to just think about if money wasn't an issue, if there was no social conditions whatsoever, I didn't have to be any particular way. There was no limitations. I'm just letting myself play. If money's not an issue, there's no social limitations, that just, what would I love to experience? What would I really, really love to experience this year? Or at all, and maybe never, not even this year, but what would I love to experience, right? So money's not an issue. What would, I mean, like, if I'm not lying to myself, like I'm getting really honest, whether or not I ever believe I can have it, whether or not I even know how or anything, what would I just love? And again, maybe what I love is something smaller, right? Like I just would love to nurture myself. I would love to rest, or I would love to, you know, write the all-American novel, whatever it is. So we're just going to play, and you could have 10 of them. You don't have to have one, right? Just play. We're just going to keep our pens moving, or our keyboards moving, or whatever you're doing this on. We'll just do it for like a minute or so, or 2 minutes. Alrighty, you can keep flying with that, but what I'd like you to do is take whatever the specifics are, or get really juicy specific, and then what I'd like you to do is like now talk about the feelings of those specifics, the feelings of it. Like if I had that, you know, acting job, I would feel. If I met that romantic partner of my dreams, I would feel. You know, any of those things, anything. If I wrote that book finally, I would feel. If I took my coaching practice to a whole nother level, I would feel, right? So again, I want to know what you want to feel, what you really want to feel inside, because I think that's what's most important. So let's play with it. Let's get really specific about the things you want, the pictures, so that you can get in touch with the feelings. So let's see what comes up with that. We'll go another minute or two. Okay, I'm going to come back, and we're just going to do just another quickie of like in this feeling, like of this feeling that I want to feel. What's some tiny step I could take? What's some tiny, tiny step I could take to honor this feeling? Like this feeling, what's some tiny steps or tiny ideas that I could free associate right now around this feeling I want to feel? Just really quickly, writing fast. I will let you keep going on that. I was just reading some of the shares out here on the chat. Oh my God, if you can read the chat or comment on the chat, they're really wonderful, and hope you don't mind. I'm going to read, Kristen, I'm going to read yours out loud because it's just so cool. So cool. I don't know what I was saying, but she wrote, "That's so right. I was going through a really rough period, so I started drawing and drawing and drawing just to process my feelings. And it turned into art openings at bona fide galleries in the Santa Fe Arts District and many other shows. I couldn't believe it. I don't think the shows would have happened if my work hadn't come from so deep inside me. Apparently it resonated, but my goal was not even to be an artist or have a show. It was to make it through. And I may never have another show again, but it's just about making it through." I thought that was just such a great, great example of following that energy, of that. Very often our next steps won't even be things that you would think, because you know you're just trying to make it through, and some part of you just goes into drawing, and who knew that that was going to be the thing that does something phenomenal. Many of us, by the way, many of us who are living inspired lives got there through pain. Many of us hit some block or challenge and then had to find a way to just get through it, and the way became the way, became the way, right? So again, that's just a great example of it. I thought that was really great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And there's so many other good stuff out here. So if you haven't, you might want to comment out on the chat. But I'd love to hear anything that came up from some of you from the exercise. Let's hear from some folks. So I'm just going to call on people if that's okay. Unless you have your hand up. Oh, you have your hand up. I'm going to call you Indy now. No. Even though it says something else. Hello.
Hi.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes.
Thank you.
What really showed up for me was that I love my senses. I do not shun them. And one of the things that I can do to help me stay plugged into that is to watch Diane Ackerman's A History of the Senses.
Huh.
I love the frames of music. I love the texture of velvet. I love the warmth of my dog.
Mm.
I love the scent of sea brine. I love this world. And I love writing about it and giving it narrative form and painting
Mm.
in words.
Beautiful.
And I think culturally, worldwide, there's disapproval of being sensorial, being connected to our senses. And I'm finding permission tonight to be the way I am.
Oh,
which is
beautiful.
so
Beautiful.
plugged into this world.
Thank you. And by the way, such a perfect thing, because you know, like part of you is saying, oh my God, I really want to be tapped into my senses. And I love that. And, you know, I know that you write, and you write gloriously. And it's because you're tapped into your senses. And I loved how that, like, one tiny little specific came up of, oh, well, then I can watch this, you know, watch this movie or this instruction on how to be even more in my senses. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
Somebody else, something that came up about your vision, or Catherine, I'm going to call on you. You have a hand up. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So what I realized, I like every year in very like type A fashion, I make this Google Doc of like each category of my life, like, you know, family, hobbies, work, you know, so goals in all of those categories that are like the do part, right? And then I just had this realization doing this exercise. Why aren't the categories the adjectives, you know, of like the way you want to feel? So why isn't it joy, laughter, and putting the things that
Get that
make you
Google
feel
Doc
better?
out. Get that Google Doc. We're going to make a giggle doc. The hell with Google Doc. We're doing giggle docs.
Yeah, so it just like really flipped the
Wow.
way I was thinking about organizing it in my
That's fantastic.
and, yeah.
That's really, really cool. I love it. It's a great example of, again, our head has predictable goals, and our head has predictable ways, and we want to get in touch with something else. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, somebody else. I'm just going to call on, maybe I'm going to call on somebody I can't see, if that's okay. And if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine, but I'm just randomly going here. Laura, I'm calling on you. Laura Thornberry, or are you there? I can't unmute you, so maybe maybe that's not a good idea. Oh, there you are. Hello, can you say hi?
Hear me? I didn't know I had my headset on.
There you are. Beautiful.
How are you?
I am good. What came up for you?
You know what's interesting? I didn't think of speaking, but I've been doing a lot of goal setting throughout December and January. And I think what came up for me is that my heart is in my goal setting and in that feeling. And I think it's just really powerful and reassuring to feel like I'm on the right path for myself.
Yay. That's beautiful.
So it's just really, really exciting to be a part of this tonight, because it's always inspiring to feel like, you know, you are on the right path, you're doing the right things for yourself. I'm going at a super slow pace and I get frustrated with myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I still feel like it's okay. I need to be okay with that. I need to quit trying so hard and
Yes.
possibly doing the wrong things and just let it come.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know, Laura, thank you so much. I'm so glad I just randomly called on you here.
Me too.
Because, you know, I think a lot of us think that we're going so slow, you know, or just we're so type A and we think we're going so slow. And it's like, please keep in mind, we're undoing ways of thinking. We're undoing paradigms. We're healing. You have no idea, you know, how long this should take or what you're getting along the way. And, you know, I think it really is important to stay in communities like this where you're reminded you're doing just fine. You're doing fine. You're doing more than fine, because our crazy minds just get in the way all the time, right? And they're just telling ourselves, you're not doing it fast enough. You're not doing it right enough. You know, that there's really a secret right answer out there. And I don't think there is. I think there's your path.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, I'm right on time,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I have so many goals and so many things. My to-do list is insane. And trying to prioritize it and make it make sense and be okay with everything takes 3 times longer than it should in my brain.
In your brain.
And be more in the feeling of it's the journey, it's not the checking off the boxes.
Absolutely. You know, the example I always use that for myself is that, you know, I take yoga and, you know, my mind understands the pose. My mind understands, oh, you're supposed to touch your toes. Okay, my mind can get that. Doesn't mean my body can do it. You know, my mind goes, what's the problem? I understand. Go touch your toes, you know. But my body's not having any of it. Right?
Yep.
And my body might need, you know, a decade or two before I can touch my toes, you know. But again in yoga, they would say, who cares? The action of trying is getting you somewhere. The action of doing it is moving something. So,
yes.
You know, and there's a beautiful saying in the Course in Miracles that says, infinite patience brings immediate results. Infinite patience brings immediate results. Most of us are so fired up and angry and wanting to make it happen. But if we would have patience for ourselves and love for ourselves, more would happen than we could possibly imagine. So I'm glad that you got excited. Yay. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. Oh my God, I want to call on everybody, and I know it's late because I always run later than I planned. Does somebody want to, I want to call on one other person at least. I don't know why, Christy, I keep looking at you. I hope you don't mind. I'm ambushing you here. Can I unmute you? I can't unmute you. Maybe not. I'm trying to unmute. Okay, well, maybe the universe. Oh, there you are. Hi.
I think I had to do it from my side.
Okay.
Anyway,
I hate when people have free will. I hate that part.
Well, Happy New Year. Oh boy, I don't know. I don't know what that big vision is for me. I keep taking steps all the time, and I love my life, and I've done some amazing things in business and sports arena and winter sports, and now it's transferred over to summer sports. So I just got a promotion at a golf course, and so I'm management there, and so it's all good, you know.
You just said the magic words, Christy. I love my life. Like, great. Who the hell needs a vision if we love our lives?
Well, and it's just an adventure, and I'm enjoying the ride, you know, basically. And when I was writing down all the things, the little steps there, I thought, well, okay, what can I do? And it sort of came back to, well, now I've done all these things, but maybe I could be more inspirational for my employees and for the girls on the girls golf team. I love to inspire young women to have more, just believe in themselves a little bit more. I think there's a big gap in that these days. And
yes.
And I would love to maybe tap into that and be
I heard that. I heard that as a vision.
yeah. So
I just heard that. Like, I would love to inspire these younger women.
So I think maybe I need to make a big star by that, and that can be one of my things I work on this year.
Beautiful. And have it be a real vision, but tiny little steps. Maybe it's, I'm going to speak to the 13-year-old I meet tomorrow. Maybe I'm just going to start kicking around ideas about it.
Or maybe I'll go play golf with them and they'll say, oh my gosh, if that 63-year-old can carry her, I don't need the golf cart.
There you go. That's beautiful. And by the way, you said the most beautiful thing. I will say it again. I love my life. If you focus on that, I love my life. That's everything. That's all we ever want. Again, I don't want people having to, constantly be getting somewhere. This is it. So, and so thank you so much for sharing with me. I appreciate letting me ambush you there. So again, I want to just reiterate a few things with this as like takeaways. And again, this, one of the things that happens on these kinds of calls, by the way, too, is that I think more of it starts seeping in over time. More of it starts seeping in. We opened up inspired space, and then we're going to let some of this seep in. Like, you're going to pay attention as you go along to things that come up for you, a dream that happens, and something somebody says that reiterates something you thought about, right? So again, but what I want you to stay in touch with is get out of the how. Get out of the how. What do you really want? Get out of the how. Get out of the how. What do I really want? What feels good to me? Let's pay attention to that. What's the tiny little steps I could take that will help me feel that? And then the other thing I want to talk to you about is, when you have an intention, it's also time to hold attention. When you have an intention, you want to hold attention to it. What happens for many of us, if you take a workshop, you get inspired, you get ignited, you're in an inspired space, and then you may lose that feeling, you may lose that energy. So I want you holding attention to it. So again, anything that helps you do that, like think about what might help you, say, I'm going to keep my hand in this. I'm going to keep going. This is not going to be a one-time thing because it's the rest of my life. What are the things that support that, or how do I support myself in that? I will again invite you, please join me on a retreat sometime. If you can get to one of my retreats, they're amazing. We get to meet live and play together. They're awesome. If you're in Denver, join me at A Course in Miracles live. It's really amazing. We're doing the retreat this weekend on Saturday. Again, I'm in Massachusetts doing Unleash Your Calling, Create the Work and Life You Love, and that's in late January. And then I'm in California doing Unleash Your Calling in April. So there's all kinds of good stuff going on. And then also, I really would love to have you in my life tribe. If I'd love you to think about it, just because it's just an incredible group of human beings where we meet like this. It's shorter. We meet more specifically where we break out, we work together on things, but it keeps you inspired. It keeps you ignited, because what I want for you, whether it's my Inspired Life Tribe or it's something else, I want to remind you. I want to keep you reminded. I want to keep you in that energy, because you think you will remember, and then what happens is we get into a different state of mind and we lose touch with the things that really matter. So please commit to something in your life, anything in your life that feeds this energy, that keeps it going, because it gets better and it gets better and it gets better. So along those lines, you'll get something about it, but I just briefly, I will tell you that we're doing a special where if you do Life Tribe with me, which is $99 for 3 months, then you get A Course in Miracles with me, the online version of Course in Miracles for free, which is an 8-week course also. So it's a double special. So, and also Life Tribe continues. So after the 3 months, it continues. You get charged again another $99 because it keeps going. It goes on until you decide you don't want to. So it's, there have been people who are with us for years because it's amazing. So just want to tell you about that. I'm going to do a recap, a little bit of some of the takeaways that I want you to think about. Then I'm going to read you something and then I'll say goodbye. So, so again, the biggest thing that I want you to keep in mind is, for me, about keeping a vision, it's getting in touch with the biggest, wildest vision, what feels really good to you, what really holds the power. And again, you may have lost touch with it, or you may have told yourself you can't have it. But if you could have it, what would you want? If you could have it, What would you want? That biggest, wildest vision. And then I want you to think about the tiniest little steps, the tiniest little steps. Because again, I'm much more interested in you writing for 5 minutes than for writing for 4 hours and then never again, right? So I want you to keep this consistent. I want you to take something tiny. And then the most important thing to me is self-love will turn this all around. Self-love will turn this all around. Where are you judging yourself? Where are you getting in your own way? Where are you evaluating what's possible? You have no idea what's possible. There is a force in you that will blow you away. I know every one of you has experienced it at some time in your life. You got inspired, you got ignited, you knew it was real, right? And so that's what we're doing. We're feeding this constantly and consistently. And I'm so honored to be with you guys because, you know, again, truly it is your visions and it is your dreams that keep me inspired, because I can sometimes feel like, am I the only one on the planet that thinks like this? But then when you start realizing, okay, 1,000 people just signed up, like, okay, there are many of us who are doing this work with integrity and love. And by the way, there's a lot of information out there that can make you feel like, what's wrong with me? How come it didn't manifest in 3 seconds? I did the affirmation, I did the mantra. Why didn't it manifest in 3 seconds? To me, this is a much bigger journey. It's manifesting always. You're always being loved. It's always working. It's always working out. Your mind may be separating from it. It's always working out. It's working out right now, but you may be having an opinion or a thought that's in the way of that. So I want to read you one final thing from A Year Without Fear. I think it's a March entry that I picked. Okay. It is March 19th if you have the book. And it says, it doesn't, no, this is not the one I wanted to do. Uh-oh, where is it? Oh, here it is, March 18th. I lied to you. March 18th. Here's how to take a risk. Decide it doesn't have to work out immediately. It doesn't have to lead to a preordained outcome. It doesn't have to end up making $1 million. It doesn't even have to be worth a mention in the throwaway newsletter of your neighborhood. Follow the spur to do it. Enter the holy curriculum of listening to and learning about yourself. This commitment will lead, heal, and resurrect you. Allow yourself to be anointed. Remember, you risk more by denying yourself the chance to grow. Today, I look at risks I desire to take as chances to listen to and learn about myself. I'm going to read that one line again. Follow the spur to do it. Enter the holy curriculum of listening to and learning about yourself. This commitment will lead, heal, and resurrect you. Allow yourself to be anointed. Remember, you risk more by denying yourself the chance to grow. I am like wildly proud of all of you. This is a new year. This is a new decade. I'm so honored to be with you. I love you. I'm grateful. I believe in you. If you are ever down, if you are ever lost, that's what I'm here for. That's what this work is here for. If you can't join me live on an event or on an online event, we have free resources, books, whatever, just because I want you to stay inspired. I believe you are the hope in the world. When I look at the news, sometimes I'm depressed. When I look at what's going on in the world, sometimes I can be depressed. When I meet some of you in retreats and workshops, I am so impressed and I feel so grateful because I believe we are the news. I believe we are the answers. Thank you so, so much. I want to see some of you live. Mwah! Love you guys. Thank you. Write to me if you have any thoughts or questions. You'll be getting an email after this that asks you like your takeaway or whatever. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're in Life Tribe, post on Facebook. I want to know how it went for you. So if you're in my Life Tribe already, post on our Facebook group and we'll get together. So mwah! Love you guys. Till the next one. Bye.